Okie dokie. Let's go. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Let's make sure you can hear me. I don't know why I'm sounding like a robot right now, but hey, we'll go with it. So I just want to double check, obviously, that you can see my screen. I'm going to get back to this little X-Wing that I've been trying to make because I just want to. Because I want to put one of these on my holiday tree this year, and then I really want to put this battle scene above me here in this little office I got. So, you know what? I want to get that done. So, if you let me know that you can definitely hear me, see the screen, that would be huge help for sure. Hello. That way. Okay. I'm just gonna go and this in there. I'm just moving my chat around a little bit actually to give me more space. So just so I can see you guys, what you have to say. No major reason why I'm not using 2025.3. I just didn't update on this particular system. I'm always on a whole bunch of different systems all over the place. So I just didn't get this one updated yet to 2025.3. No major reason at all. The really big difference with 25.3 and 2020.2 that I'm using, the 2.2 I'm using, is point 3 has the Portuguese language in it. No problems. It's just we added the Brazilian Portuguese language in point 3. That's all. Nothing else really otherwise major. Okay, so I kind of at a point where, again, I started going down the rabbit hole a little bit with this guy, and really looking at it again. I've got some stuff off. I don't know what happened with me, where I went wrong. So, and I also again have this little guy that I use as a visual item to look at. It's just so nice to have something physical to look at in this scenario. You can just different angles. It's really convenient. But I kind of, looking at this, I need to fix this. The wings need to be adjusted. Some of these parts need to be adjusted, I think. So I want to just use another image that I have to go take a look at this. So I'm going to open up our tray over here on the left. Then let's go ahead and I am going to want to use kind of the floor grid. So I'm going to come into my draw. I'm going to dock that over here. And then down here at the bottom, there are options here. So let me make sure there we go. Just making sure I'm not in the way. I'm not in the way of it. So you have a front, back, left, right, so forth and so on. So if I turn my floor grid on, that's going to give us a floor grid. The fill mode is going to be important. We're going to want that at 3. So now that this is on, I can click on an image and plop in an image. As you can see, the fill mode is now set to number 3, which is going to allow me to look through the model. And this is where I would take perspective off, just so I can actually look straight down the model, down each camera angle that I want to look at, in conjunction with this one image. All right, so I kind of want to use this. Obviously, the front's not going to be that beneficial from this image I have, just because it's got like the open wing look, which I don't have. So I kind of want to just take a real quick look at this and maybe use this image as an adjuster, and looking at from a profile view and from above view would be important for me. So I can reuse this same image. So there's up, down. So I can use this image, and so now if I do this, we can see the image. Okay. So obviously the issue is I want to use this as some kind of guide, kind of a technical drawing that I want to kind of match my X-Wing up with. So I can, let's see, adjust this, and now I can crop out the parts that I really care about. Is kind of this portion is all I really care about. Okay, that's about it. And then now this is what I would get. You can rotate the image. So as you can see, I can start rotating the image. And now I can start aligning the image as well. So we have vertical and horizontal. So I probably want to do more in this world. And then maybe, let's just see, horizontal. It's not off too much. And then we have a scale. So we can scale up and down. So I would say something around there. And then now vertically. Well, maybe I'm not off. Maybe I'm actually pretty close here. I'm looking like I'm pretty much on the wire there. That's working out. Look, R2's right where he is. These are kind of where they at. Actually, I'm looking pretty good. All right. So, and then now if I go to the side view, obviously, let's get a profile view. That's our left, right. I'm going to use the same image. Again, this is going to plop in the entire image. So I'm going to adjust this. And again, for me, right, all I care about is this part down here. So this is where we also have sliders. So I'm looking at, say, 643, right? I'm going to remember that. So I'm going to go 643 in my head. And go right around there. And then I'm going to make this be 643. So I kind of got the same exact width. I say okay. Now I can align this image. And see what I need to adjust and what do I need to change. So probably something vertical. Looks like my sizing definitely does need to be a little bit different here. Let's go with a horizontal. And now vertical up. Okay, and then maybe a tad larger. Somewhere in there. Okay. So it looks like I'm pretty much in the same vicinity, the same locations that I want to be here with this. And then again, the beauty of this is at any time I can also use these shooting points. So for example, if we take the body, wherever my vertex is on the model, I can use these protruding lines also to line things up. So just for the sake of just doing this, we can also take the front. Just so we have it, even though I don't have it in an open wing state right now. So it's not really going to be the most beneficial thing for me. And then we can come in here and once again, we kind of align this. Whoop, I don't want to rotate. So the scale is definitely off right now on this. Let's say that's about right. And let's see, we need to go maybe a tad smaller. Okay. I'd say in general, I'm pretty much good to go with the proportions, the sizing, and everything else like this. Right? So again, I got this all in an image, ready to go. This is also going to help me when I want to start putting some design elements in here. Like, for example, we get in close, we start wanting to draw some of these assets and some of these things I want to have on here, especially when we get to this part. I'm just going to be replicating these items. And also something that could be beneficial for me for the up down, actually doing an inverse. Like in this particular image, it might be visually easier for you to read, to understand. This is kind of why we have this inverse ability here. And that's why we're doing this. So I'd say we're pretty good. And then I'm using a little bit more of what I have going on this too as well, as a guide and a range here. Okay, I think I'm okay. I think I'm gonna continue on now. First hard thing to do is find a good reference like this. That is definitely for sure. Again, I'm a big fan of books still. I know we've got all these other things online. And in fact, here, let me grab my stream deck. It's way over here in the wrong spot. I can't get to it. So let me move this in the location that I can get to. So for me, things like this, right, is a great book to use. So I got this on my shelf. I'm a big fan of, this is one of my all-time favorite books. Wow, which is actually not a bad price. This isn't too bad. Guys, I share this book all the time. This book I've never seen fluctuate so much. I've seen it for $2,000 on Amazon. I've seen it for $50 on Amazon. I've seen it for $500, $300, $400. $137 is not too bad. That's not too shabby. It's not horrible. It's definitely not horrible. Okay? So stuff like this, I would say I like to, and then get reference images from here too. Like when I'm going to get in the nitty gritty of probably this, I'll probably pull this book off and see what they got in there and just cycle through that book. But right now I've got the blocking out that I want, and now I am starting to add more and more of the detailing in here. Okay, so I think I'm going to move on to here, to this part. I think I'm going to, maybe looking at the image, I think I'm going to go a touch bigger, just a touch. Okay, so I am using array mesh as well. So when I go to adjust just this one, I don't actually need to worry about symmetry. You can see everything gets adjusted. Okay, so I'm actually adjusting all four. Here, we'll go to this view. So you can do all four. See, all four are adjusting for me. This is because the only one that actually exists is this piece. So also, if I want to be dead center, I would probably do that with the Alt key and tap on there. And that's what I would do for sure. Right? And so the other three don't exist. It's all being done by array meshes is what I'm doing. This entire project, I'm using a lot of array mesh because it's 4 wings that are all the same thing. So I'm going to go a little bit bigger. I want to go a little bit bigger with this. Just get a little, I want some more volume in here is really what I want. And then I'll adjust now. So what we'll do is we'll adjust all this. So I'll bring this down a little bit more than that, around there. And let's also bring this portion down a lot. Oh, let's bring this around, this portion right here. Let's bring this down just a touch. Now let me turn everything on so I can see what I'm doing in conjunction to everything else. Okay, I'm going with that. I like that a little bit more. I want that to have a little bit more meat, just a little more thickness there for me. You also will notice as I'm working here that you can see the other 4 now are kind of rendering weird. That's because array mesh and live boolean are on together, and they're both rendering items. And right now they're kind of conflicting. So if I turn off live boolean, you'll see everything looks fine. The minute I turn on live boolean, this is only going to happen when you have array mesh on with live boolean. They're both rendering things, so they're kind of conflicting with each other in essence. It doesn't ever really bother me because all I'm really looking at is one of them. Because whatever I do here, it's going to happen there, right? And so no biggie, no big deal. Right, so I'm going to start now going back to also my physical piece, and I'm going to be using this as a guide for me to start looking at. Let's just start thinking about this and kind of some layering, have some item thought process here with this. Once again, okay, looks good. Looks good there. All right. So let's start with the end piece. Let's start with this out here. Okay, and then if you look, all right, this has got also some subdivision levels on it. But if we look at the lowest one, right, and we'll delete the higher, this is really kind of where this is sitting at right now. Okay, so I want to take advantage of low polygon right now is what I want to do. So let's just get rid of, we don't really need all these spans right now. I think sculpturally I'll add these back in to do some sculptural elements for sure, but I think it's going to be easier for me to kind of reuse this, replicate this, and use it again. So the beauty is the array mesh is going to be replicatable going. So for example, we're going to start building inside this piece, okay, and start looking at what we can do with it. So if we go to our subtool, we got these little rocket engines. I can duplicate this. So now I've got a duplicated version of that, and what I care about is now only this, but you see I'm getting it everywhere. And then I'm going to delete that. So we're going to go into our modify topology and delete hidden. I'm going to say let's also insert, looking at this inside portion, I say we're more in this realm right here. Let's say just, and again, I want to 3D print this. So I'm kind of looking at this a little differently too. I'm going to add just a little bit, probably more volume, more thickness than I normally would, because I just want this to be a 3D print, right? So then I'm going to say, let's polygroup it, polyloop it, polygroup it. Say that 5 times fast. Polygroup it, polyloop it, polygroup it, polyloop. See, can't do it. I can't do it. And then so I just care about this right now. I'm going to say delete hidden. Okay, so if I turn on dynamic, we'll say yes, turn this on. Then I'm going to say in the dynamic subdivisions. So again, I'm going to close up some of this stuff just so we can have a focused look at this. Okay, so dynamic subdiv, I can add some thickness to this. So I am already gaining this. This is what I'm looking to have going to all the areas, right? All locations here. So I'm going to re-look at this because I think mine's a little too big. I would say it's too big. I want to go smaller with this. So we're going to center this with the gizmo and kind of just size it down. I want to live probably more. Yeah, I think that's good enough. Okay, and then dynamically, this has got this smoothness on, and it's kind of, there's some shrink like happening here. So one thing I'll probably do is I'll crease the border edges by hitting this crease. So now that is all creased. So when I dynamically want to put some smoothing on here, you can see I kind of keep more of that thickness that I want in there. I'm looking for more for something like that. I would even say I would go a little bit more thicker. Just again, just for the sake of, I want to, let's smooth that. I want to 3D print this, right? That's my ultimate goal for me for this project. I'm trying to make my X-Wings that I can have flying above me, and I just want these to be 3D printed. By all means, I'm keeping an eye on the chat, by the way, so I will constantly look up at the chat. So if you have questions or you just want to go on a tangent, let me know. In fact, how's my audio? Is my audio good? I want to make sure my audio is good, so let me move my microphone even closer. Is my audio coming through okay, actually? Now, I forgot to say that. For me, on my side, it's bouncing in the yellow into the red, so I'm assuming I'm coming across loud and clear. So I'm going to say, all right, let's just apply this with absolutely no subdividing smoothness. Now I'm going to turn dynamic on again and then turn off the thickness this time and turn that on, and now I have something like this. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to do a little bit more here, I think. I would like to, on this side, put a bevel, right? So I'm going to come out of dynamic and come from there. Thank you for letting me know my audio is good. And then I'm going to crease by PG, which is polygroups. I just want a little bit of a, just a little bit of a bevel there, just to create a little bit more of some softness there that I'd like to have in there. And looking back at my reference, it's difficult to see completely what's happening. I'm going to try something, though. We're going to try something here, okay? Let's try something out. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's duplicate. This is because I just want to try this because this is what this stream's all about, is also experimenting with things, so you guys can see how I would experiment with stuff. So I'm going to say this is centered now. I'm going to grab a cube instead. So this is what I'm grabbing. Okay, and then I'm going to say W key, grab the cones. And again, I'm getting it in all locations because it's an array mesh. So I just want this to be just a cube. And I'm going to have it sit in the middle here. Like this. I'm going to crease the whole thing. So I'm just going to crease all so it still looks more like cube-like for us. Something like this. Right? And then I'm going to say, in the array mesh, you can see we have two states. So I'm doing a mirroring X and a mirroring Y. So the first one's mirroring across the X axis. The second array mesh is mirroring across the Y axis. Okay? So I can try, hey, append new, and now I have a third one. All right, and then I can say, let's rotate. Okay, so this is now going to rotate in different axis points. Okay, and so what I want to do is look at this. Okay, and you see this transpose line is representing the pivot point, and also now I can use move, scale, and rotate up here, which in essence is me going offset, scale, rotate here. The pivot point here is this yellow, yellow, yellow dot, right? So I can say, let's move this pivot point, right? So I want this pivot point to actually live over on top of the cube for this stage. I would prefer this, okay? So I'd want that pivot point to be something more in that realm, right in there. That way when I go to rotations and I start rotating, I want to rotate around the z-axis now, 360 degrees. Okay, and then I say I want more of them. And so see, now they're rotating in that one area is where they're rotating. So inside, I don't know if we're going to be able to see it, I'm building what's inside here, the boosters, right? That's what I'm building. Okay, so I'm going to say, in this particular model, what do we got inside there? We got, what, 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. Okay, 12. We'll do 12. Perfecto. Era perfecto. So I got 14 right now. I'm going to say 12. I'm going to switch back to this, and then now when I move this away, we're getting that. And that's what I want. I want this to give me that ability, okay? I can play with the width on this if I want to. I am going to, in essence, mask off the bottom vertex points, so then I can go all the way out like that. And this is what I'm trying to create. This right here. Okay? So the craziness is happening because I've got all these other also items happening. Okay? So when I started building this, I would want to say, let's do, and now what? Let's see, it kind of comes up a little bit more, right? Let me look at my reference once again. Yep. Okay. Obviously another approach to this that I could do, because this is kind of where I like to experiment. We could also just take this, right? And our goal would be, if I'm trying to do 12, then I would probably want to have at least probably 24 or something like that where I can skip every other, right? So right now, here, we just look at only this. I've got, here, we'll just mark this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Right? So we got 16. Okay, so I would want to go up a little bit. So this would be an example where maybe I go, let's just go up one and then apply it and delete, and now you can see we'll get more spans here. So now this, I would say, how many do we have now? Okay, so I'd say starting from this, we should have 4 times, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We got 32, okay, is what we got. So I wanted, what, 12? Okay, so we don't have the perfect math. We would want 36 here probably. So we need an every other skip, right? So this is why I will go, sometimes I'll just use the array mesh because it's just going to make sense to use that array mesh instead. Okay? So I would say we could do 2 things here. We could go get the number of spans that we want here and then just recreate this now with the number of spans. So if I want to go, let's say I want to go, I need 12 total, and then I'm probably going to want to skip every 2 is what I'm going to want, most likely, I would say, is what I want to do. Hold on, I got somebody at my door, so give me a second. All right, turn my audio back on. Sorry about that. So I'm going to think about this if we go, right? If I want to go, maybe if I want 12 and then I want to skip, right? So if you look at it this sense, okay? So let's, this is what I'm thinking about, okay? Is, okay, there's one and then there's another, there's another, right? So I'm skipping a gap of every 2 is what I would want. And so this is where the problem will be, right? I need at least another one. So this would give us, if you look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So I need a span that's a little bit different than what I have right now. So if I wanted to get to that, that 12 number, I in essence need 4 more, right? I need 36 because I'm going to want to skip 2, make another one, then have another 2 gap there, right? So we could just do this then. I know I need 36. Let's use this cylinder, right? This is going to be arrayed everywhere. And I don't need this. I can create my inner part there, okay? And then this cone gives me the number, and I'm just looking to do what? 36. There's my 36 spans. And then I can play with the height now this way. And in essence, I just recreated that inner piece instead and went this approach with it is what I decided to do in this scenario. Right? And then it's just, this will make less subtools as well. So why not? Why not? Okay, I'm going to say that's good enough. And then we'll bring it out a little bit more. Let's get that Z modeler and go again. And then so now I kind of want to do, let's do an insert of an edge loop there. That's good. And then I'll do now a bevel. I want to put that bevel there, that bevel there. Let's also do an insert on this side just to stay consistent with what we're making here. And then I'm going to throw some creasing on this, on the angles, creased by the poly grouping. So that way when I turn on dynamic and throw it up to say 4 divisions, I get this look. Right? And so now what's becoming important for me, right, is what I was doing before. So I want to do like a face, then I want to skip 2, and then a face, skip 2, face. So I'm just going to repeat the pattern around this cylinder for me. And the benefit of this one over the other way of array meshing was this is just the same subtool. Instead of having 2 subtools creating this piece, I have 1 subtool, okay? And then now this is just a Q mesh out. So now I'm just Q meshing this out. I like to change my poly groups, and then this is what I'm making, okay? So then I would say I want more. Right, so we'll do a poly group all now. And instead of doing a Q mesh, I can hold the shift key and it's just making that bigger like this. So now I just want to make sure it's colliding like that. And now I have this for me. Right? So it's just a way to create that pattern that maybe I'm looking for. I'm going to pull this again. I'm going to pull this out even more. I want that to be a little more predominant and understood, I would say. And then let's look at it smooth. Let's again crease those edges. So we got a little bit something more like that. And now I've got that little pattern going on in there, which is good for me. I like it. Okay. And if I want to, I could say, hey, I want to put some edge looping in here, right? So if the thing here though is if I turn on symmetry, I would want to be having local symmetry dynamically on, right? And then so I would say then let's turn on radio by the Z. Let's go. We need 12, right? And then that way I can make an edge loop there. And then here I can make an edge loop. And then I kind of want to play with this a little bit actually. So I'm going to do, I just want to see what this is going to look like. I'm going to do this. Okay. So I want, let's see. I want to see what this looks like if we start. I don't know if I'm going to like this. Nah, I don't like that. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it alone. Sometimes it's good to know when you got, and then just move along. Okay, so we got that. Let's continue working on this. So there's multiple approaches now I want to do for some other elements here. So let's do, in fact, I'm going to play with this a little bit more. I would say that taper for me, I don't know if I want to keep that taper. So I'm going to do a poly loop here, or actually I'm going to do a mask. Mask that completely off. We'll go to solo so we can see what I'm doing here. And now centering that on that mask. And now just I can play with this, just adding a little bit more volume in here. And then I would say that's a little bit better. I just want to have a little bit more thicker portion in there. And then now looking at, let's say this, looking at my reference once again. Let's see what we got. Okay, so it does go all the way there. And then we got something like that. Okay. All right. So let me look at where we're at with this. So I have, let's see, creased. There's an extra edge in there. I don't know if I want that extra edge. Okay, I see what I did. You gotta remember what I did here. Okay, interesting. I made these two separate pieces actually. So that's why when I do this, it's separating so much right in here. Okay, so that's one piece. That's one piece. Okay. All right. I see what I did there. I would say it's actually, yeah, let's connect them. Oh no, I want to connect them. So I'm going to move this apart. So we have this, okay? And then I'm going to say I want to go from there to here. So I'm going to delete, actually let's just Q mesh, polygroup all this. And let's do polygroup, no, let's do flat. Let's do flat island. And then I can just pull on this, and then eventually it's going to connect like this. Now it's connected. So there's an extra edge loop here that I don't really want this now. I don't want that edge loop because I want that. That's what I'm looking for, something more like that as a connecting, right? So now let me fix what I just messed up because I went a little too aggressive with this change. Okay, so I would probably want to, bring this back down more in that realm. Okay, and then double check this, that is still showing. Okay, good there, good there. I would say I don't need also this edge loop. So again, we'll switch into solo. I don't need that edge loop. And right now, okay, I'm going to delete this edge loop as well right now. So I just got this. And I'm going to now use this to my benefit for a couple things that maybe we can play with and manipulate and put together. So in here, we're going to do an inset. I'm going to do each polygon as an inset, okay? And I'll do a poly loop. And then as I do this, we'll make new polygroups like that as an example. And then now this, Q mesh, polygroup all, pull something like that to come out. And so when I do this, you'll get this look, but what I want to start doing now is getting the creasing involved here. So realistically, I want all of these edges creased right through there, so I can start getting that look. And then now I need edge loops. I want to insert an edge loop there so it's tighter, and insert an edge loop there so it gets tighter. So now I have that pattern. And that's kind of what I was looking for in here. I kind of want to just give that pattern that we have. I might exaggerate again because I'm printing. I might want to actually exaggerate this. So we'll Q mesh polygroup ball. Just go even a little bit thicker here, just to make it even stand out more. Like, gotta be careful I don't go too crazy here with this. Okay. All right, that works for me. Now let's build a little ridge here. I want to get a little ridge at the end here. So let's make a insert edge loop there, and then we will Q mesh by the poly loops. Let's get a little ridge happening in here. Let's crease it by the old PGer so that we get that kind of ridge happening. I'm going by what I have here as a guide for sure. All right, I would say that and that. Okay, I'm just looking what I got here so far and making some decisions. So I'm going to play with this. Oops, and make this kind of just sit more in that direction. I would say, yeah, that's not too bad. But I think to make this even faster for all of us, I don't know why I'm saying all of us, for me, in general, I'm gonna go, let's make a bigger ridge here. Just something, again, that just is gonna be more predominantly standing out. And then now I'm gonna say, I want an edge loop. Okay, I want an edge loop about right there. Then I want another one right about there. I would say actually this one needs to live more in that world, which means this one. Okay, space bar, slide, complete edge loop, bring this down more into this world. There we go. Okay, and then now I want to create a stepping here. Okay, so I'm going to have this pop up. We'll change the poly grouping. Then I'm going to put, let's do single edge in here, right? So if I go to insert, then I'm going to go halfway. No, I'm going to go a quarter. And now this will snap. And so there I snap by quarter. And then now I want this to come up, and we'll change that poly group by tapping the Alt key. And now again, I have something like this. We PG it. And then when I do this, I got this kind of stepping look happening there, which is what I have in this particular one. So I want to kind of replicate that feel that I have here. In fact, it wouldn't even hurt. Looks like we could go a little bit even closer to the ridge there. And a little bit closer there. Build it more like that. Right, so we've got, it's got, let's see, is it on both sides? Yeah. Okay, on this particular reference, there's like two little rectangular shapes on either side. So I'm going to want to put that in there. Okay, so the easiest thing for that would be we just use an insert. So let's look at this. Okay, we'll switch to this, we'll center this. I'm going to hold control and do this. And then I'm going to say, so here, just so we'll do this so you can really see what's going on. Then I'm going to go into the gear and tell it to replace it with a cube, which now I have. And then this is sitting here, all right? And it is going to sit like around there. So this is now sitting right at the center of where I want kind of things. We're going to crease this so it's more like that. I'm going to do this, and then looking at where this sits in space. Okay, it does go higher, and it goes all the way just past the ridge there. So height-wise, it needs to sit higher than this. We're going to go with that. All right, and then as far as length, we'll do some masking. I want it to go right about there. That's where I want this to be. Now, if I want this to not have such roundness corners to it, I think, again, that you got to look at the size of it, what it's going to be doing. So I'm also then going to, we also need to make 2 of them. So I'm going to say, let's do this. And I will move 1 here. And then I'm going to move, or let's actually even, when I do this, let's use the snapping. So I'm going to go 0.0, let's go 0.03. Yeah, let's see. I'm holding shift key. So when I move this, if I now hold the shift key, it'll snap. So let's go 0.03. And so now I want to go there. So now I have these 2 pieces that look like this. Okay, and they're supposed to be on both sides, not just on the top. So obviously I'm getting in all 4 locations. So since it's got this cylindrical thing, the easiest thing for me to honestly do is take this and mask off that face, right? Just mask off the face that I want to look at. So right, so again, this is what I'm doing here, and then I'll inverse it, right? And then I can extrude and get the same thing on the other side. Something like that. Okay, and then I can add another edge loop here. So let's just look at this, and I'll put an edge loop here at this. We don't want it masked anymore. So it just holds the shape a lot better. And to stay consistent, I'm going to say, let's take this. And then we'll switch to slice. And then I have that, and I definitely don't want, I don't want this creased, don't want that creased and that creased. I want kind of that, more look of that, I think. I'm gonna go with that, and then actually we'll go with the crease. Okay, so this is all I'm doing. I'm doing this is what I'm doing. Okay, and you can manipulate and move this. This has everything's creased kind of item here, and then I'll inverse this and do something more like there. And it'll all weld together when I'm done, but I at least got it in the bottom and the top half now. We're good to go. Okay? I see some questions. So I guess Peel UV is never coming, right, Paul? I can't say yes or no. I can't really talk too much about development, unfortunately. Wish I could, but I can't. But you never know. I don't say never for anything anymore, just because there's been many times in development of ZBrush that, oh, I don't think we'll ever do this or that, and then we end up doing it, like even like a month later, or 6 months later, or a year later. So it's really it's a possibility, of course. Having a UV editor is a possibility in ZBrush for sure. I wouldn't say no. Never. It would not be what I would use. Absolutely not. Did I ever happen to check out the Star Wars Chronicles vehicle book? I did not. I did not check out that book, honestly. Did not. I think you were recommending that book last time, right? If I remember right. It's been a while since I've been streaming because my schedule's been a little crazy for me, right? So I'm just building out the details. And again, I'm not worried about the ugliness over here. That's, again, the array mesh and live boolean. If I'm focusing on one, then it's going to happen over on the other side as well. I think this needs to go deeper. Looking more at this piece, let's make this be even deeper. So what I mean by, let's do this, and then let's unmask, holding control, clicking on the arrow. We'll make another extrusion for this. And so now I have something more like that. I think it's a little too high. I probably want to live more in that world. Just so it will also pop a little bit more when I go and do the, sorry, brain frying right now. The printing. You know what I want? You know what I want to try actually too with this. Now that I'm looking at this, I want to see what it'll look like. Let's do one other thing here. We've got. Let's go just one level and let's apply it and then delete. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Kind of wanna. So let's undo this. All right, and let's do this instead. At this point, like creasing all is going to even be better. Well, actually, no, we don't want that. So let's make this go deeper. Okay, and then now let's crease this edge completely. So let's do a complete creasing of that so it's all aligned in there. Okay, aligned, aligned, aligned. Now let's go down to 1, hit apply, then delete. And now what I be intrigued, actually let's also, before we do that, let's set up something here for us. So let's do some symmetry, polygroup, flat island, make a new polygroup there, and then have that same polygroup there, and apply, delete. And what I'm thinking about is this polygroup all. I think I want to go thicker. I want a little bit more that. I think is what I'm looking for, more or less. Then we do this. Yeah, I kind of like that better. Just printing wise, standing out and really being able to see that, I think it's better. We won't go this far out. Crease level 2, let's go divisions 4 now. Let's go crease level 1, let's make it a little bit more softer. There, okay, I prefer that. Okay, there we go. Yes, there we go. There we go. And in fact, okay, now I'm doing this to myself. I don't know, I sometimes it's good to walk away. I'm just saying, sometimes walk away. Walk away, right? So let's see. Let's see the bounding box. Let's, for right now, let's turn off the array. And let's make a deformer. I would say kind of want to pull this in down a little bit, giving a little bit of a difference there, so it's not just straight across, it's kind of slowly ramping up, just something, adding a little element there. I kind of like that. Okay, good, good, and good, and move on. Okay, in here, let's take a look at this. Do I really want that much of a, I don't think I do, honestly. I don't think so. Just taking a look again at some stuff here. that I need to create, that I need to do. Just looking to see if it's the same thing on the top and the bottom, like if it's just repeating itself. Same there. Let's flip there. Okay, they got opposites. Okay. All right. Got a good gauge here now. Let's go back and take a look at this again. I want to see what this poly loop, if I brought this up like that. Yeah, I prefer that. I like that better. That looks good. I don't like that main huge dip process in there. I'm not a fan of that at all. And then I think I'm going to go more like what they've got actually as well in here, because now we're gonna start coming this way with it all. So let's actually delete this edge loop for now, and then let's put let's put an edge loop more. That looks good, something like that. All right, and then now let's mask this complete edge loop and inverse it, and I will put this in the middle, and I'm going to do more something like this, and then push this to be more in this route. I'm going to do something more like this, I think. There we go. And then I'm going to crease, and then now I have that. Okay, I like that better. Let's turn everything on. Just take a look at everything, right? Always, I tend to, even when I'm starting to do all these little details, I still want to look at everything as a whole and see if things are messing up. All right, so let's see couple more questions came through for you guys. Question: if I have a stitch alpha in ZBrush, is it possible to give the stitches color so I can export to polypaint as ID to substance and use it to color the stitches? What's the workflow? Yeah. You could do that. As my mic is making noise now, I want to see, just by chance. Hold on. Okay. What about now? How's the mic? I got this like pretty much right in front of me, right over top of my Cintiq. So it's crank up, and as far as OBS going, I'm going into the red right now in the audio. So I'll wait for a second to see what you guys say before I start diving in and showing that brush that you're talking about that you'd want to do. There could be an approach for you for doing that, for sure. We can experiment with a couple ideas and go from there. So you know what I haven't done in a while? Let's just quick save this real quick. So I have a version of this that's saved out. All right. So, okie dokie. So as far as the stitching brushes go, okay, so there is a couple things that you could do here. So if you've got an existing brush, I wouldn't worry about it too much. You can still use that, okay? So what I mean by that is, let's grab this guy. Wait, no. Let's grab a tool. Let's just grab a tool. Okay, so let's okay, let's do this. What is going on? The touch? Did I put touch on? Let me see. Did I accidentally? Okay, I think I put touch on. There we go. I accidentally put touch on. All right, so let's divide it up a little bit. All right, that's enough. Okay, so we'll have a brush, something like this. Okay. So what I want to do is say, okay, let's see something. I want to see something. No. Okay. So there are stitch brushes that already exist. Like, for example, this brush right here, right? And what you're trying to do is you're trying to do a stitch, and then you want those stitches to be a color so you can use the color ID within Substance, right? That's what you're trying to do. We'll go a little bit bigger and we'll go up one more level, right? So you have stuff like that going on, okay? So the beauty here is, even in this case, I could still get some of the IDing, I can start playing with this a little bit. I would probably, this particular stitch, I would not keep this. So see, it's got like this going on in the alpha. I would probably play with this alpha so I kind of lose that a little bit, because I don't really want that. So I would modify this, and it could be just, you know, you start playing with these settings in here. So I would probably play with, let's see, the mid value maybe in here a little bit. Okay, playing with that. Let's see, intensity. You could go with less intensity. See what we can get. Okay, there. And then now the intensity is a little aggressive. So we go. Almost there. There we go. Let's try -0.1. Still got some. There we go. Okay. So you got a stitch. It already exists. In this case, this is a stitch, right, that I now have. So the beauty is you want painting IDs, right? So you can do this. And then you can come over here into masking. So let's do this first. Let's fill this with the color. Let's, just so we can see this, let's do a reddish color. Let's go ahead and fill object. Okay. And so now I can even with this turn on RGB, and right, and then see I get the polypaint as a bonus, because then the paint is being clipped by the alpha right out the gate. Okay, so there's your painting, right, that you can then get as an ID if you want to. All right, but you're also thinking about this. If I don't want to take this approach, okay, if I don't have RGB on and I do this, it's really not that big of a deal, because I can go over here to masking and I can tell it to mask change points, and you see all those stitches are masked off. Then I can inverse it and I can add any color I want here now and fill that, and you do, I see I get the same thing. So realistically, the only thing you need to do, if you're just trying to do this, or you're just trying to get one color and the stitches, each color is just the same, like I just now want purple for here, then this is all you would need to do. You just have an alpha and just turn on RGB. And then now you have this. This is something, what you're looking for, right? Does that make sense? Is this answering your question? Okay, so no more noise is good. It's probably my air conditioning unit then. Is this, who was this? Blood Rapture, you were asking this. Okay, and you got to remember, if I make an undo marker here, and even if I don't have this, okay, there's nothing, if I can do as many of the strokes on this subtool as I want with this stitch, and there's multiple strokes of this, I can still come over here now. If I say mask change points, it now masks, every stitch that I did from that stored mark. And so I can still do this same thing, right? So I can say, hey, well, let's do the lime green, RGB, color fill object, and then there you go. So even if I didn't do it at the time of the brush, even if I did it after the fact, you have these controls in ZBrush that we've really built a system here that it's almost everything in the most part kind of can be non-destructive, right? So there is a way to do this, okay? So, and then if, you know, this is what the little A is here. It's telling it should appreciate paint with the alpha, like in essence, pay attention with the alpha. If you don't have that on, right, and then see you get this, you just get a big green paint stroke. But that's what this little A for, in essence, painting wise, remember the alpha, which also goes to textures too, right? So if any texture you grab, okay, you can see that only the stitches is getting the texture. If I turn this A off, then everything gets that texture. So that's what this is for, that little A, is to help you with what you were asking for. Okay. So you want to fill, so fill objects doesn't work with layers. So just fill the object first before making the layer, and then now make your layer, and you can have the paint and sculpt in the same layer, and you'd be fine. So in essence, what you're asking, right now I have this, right? But I have already filled the sphere with red. Okay, so if you don't have red, like if you're starting off, then the sphere is most likely going to be white, like this. So there is color on here. And then now when I make a layer, there's already the colors actually filled on this. And so when you're painting with this, right, you want to start working with this and getting that to actually paint as well. Now I can say pick the green, and there it is. That's on a layer, so I can turn that on and off, right? So it's not that big of a deal. It's just, we don't allow fill object to work with the recorded layer right now. It's not allowed. So just fill it first, then start using your layers. Good? Makes sense? Blood Rapture? Okay. You had a question here. Help me out, please. On iPad, how do I switch from Gizmo to classic transpose line? Need to measure. Thank you. You just long press on the Gizmo, and then it'll pop up a menu, and then you can switch to transpose. That's it. That's all you need to do. Let me know if you need me to hook up the iPad. It'll take like 10 seconds here to hook up the iPad and show it to you in iPad. I can show that to you if you want. D100763. Let me know if that's, you need me to do that to show it to you, or if you try it on your side. Just hold your finger on the Gizmo icon, and then it'll have a little menu that pops up, and then you can switch to transpose. And then you'll be able to have the transpose line with your measurements. So it's because you want to use it as a measurement tool. Let me know if you want to hook up the iPad though and show you. Happy to do so. That's kind of what the point of these streams are too from us here at Maxon, is trying to just connect with you guys, make sure we're answering questions and going through that process. Okay, so we had a little tangent there. I love me some tangents, so we'll head back to this guy, our X-Wing that I'm working on. And again, I've been working on this guy right here. Okay, so going back into this, I would say at some point here, all right, it looks like it's all the same. We are going to, and then this is where I probably want to turn my image on. Let's see if it has it. Okay, it does, but it is, okay, this is the thing too where things veer off, right? It depends. You got to pick a reference to be your main reference sometimes. Sometimes like this reference that I'm looking at imagery-wise maybe doesn't match this model I have right in my hand. So I am choosing this to be my main key, my main source of truth for referencing, okay? And in this particular model, they have it, it looks like they have it here in this image. It's tough to see. This part right in here is like a little raised point of interest here, okay? This is important because if I put it here based upon the image, and then I start looking at this reference, it's a little bit different here. It's not in the exact same location. So when I start putting in all these little Greeble details, the Greeble details here, it's going to be a problem if I'm going to use this as my source of truth. So I'm going to use this as the source of truth. I'm going to ignore this, what this is doing. I think this is almost sitting at like 50%, like this bar right here. This part of it here, let's get this out of here. I'm referring to this portion right here. It's at 50-50, but that is not how it is on here. It's definitely not like that. So let's turn this off. We'll turn this on. And I would say, let's look at this now. Just let's go back to ZModeler. Turn off dynamic. And let's do an insert. Whoops. Single edge, no snapping. And I say mine is more, I'd say it's more in that world. And now I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of this one. So I would say, and in fact, since you're talking about measurements, I could do a little quick, let's do a little quick measurement. Just let's do a ratio measurement here. All right. I would say, yeah, it's almost 2. It's almost 2 of them. So in here, I'm going to switch to transpose, and then this is what I want to. So let me. I got a ray mesh on, so let me turn this off so I just get just the transpose. So I can do this, right? So from this point to this point is snapping. And so what I'm going to do is come into preferences and go to units, okay? And this is my calibration unit. So I'm going to say this is 1. So this is 1 measurement. So I've just made this distance that I've done from vertex to vertex is 1. And so what I would say, I want to have at least 2, ratio-wise, 2 times the length here. Okay, and then in fact, let's get rid of this so we can just be looking at the blue portion. But now that I've done that calibration, I can click here and then click there. That's measured, and up in the top, you see it's 1.7. So it's not actually completely 2. So I probably want this to still be a little bit more in that world. And then now do this again, here to here. Right, if you want to do the math, you can figure it out, right? I don't have to do the thing. So up here, I'm talking about up here in the top corner up here, 0.87, right? So I would need 1.74 to be double. Okay, so I don't have to do the calibration. I can just do this, and I'm a little bit more than double, but that's fine because I need to put another edge loop, like right there, and then now, there you go. That's kind of where I want to sit for me with this. And then now I can Q-mesh poly loop it and do, this is what I was trying to get made. This is a little nice little ridge there. And then I'm going to go ahead for me, I'm going to throw a little bevel on this, tap it, do the same thing there. Okay, and then going back into this, we're going to crease by the old PG, turn this on, and now we've got that portion. Okay, and then now, that's what it's looking like. And this is a good reference point, actually, now that I look at this. Okay. That's in a good spot. That's actually an interesting observation for this. Okay. Let's see, I need a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit longer here, actually. Because if I look at this, it is a little different. If I look at that imagery, I mean, look at that piece, it actually is sitting a little bit closer to where the image has it. Like, it's sitting more like right around in here, actually. Which means this needs to be a lot longer. So I'm going to go a little bit here. Right, I'm going to go put that a little bit more here. And then what I'm also going to do is I want this to be a little bit longer, get some of that back. I'm looking more like that. Not so much. Something like that. And then let's also take this, which we're going to affect the inside. I'm going to just go a little bit out more. We're going to need to fix that piece inside there. And I want to take this now. I want this to be a lot bigger. And then I want this portion. I want that to stand out a little bit more. It'll be more like that. Yeah, that's better. Okay, I'm liking that better. Overall, that's working for me a lot better. So now let me fix this, right? Because this is now being hidden. Is that the, oh no, that's for inside there. So I've already done this once before. This one. This is the one I want. Bring that back out. There we go. Okay. Same. See, non-destructive is a way to go. You can make adjustments, do what you want to do. I'm going to live more in that world. That to me seems a lot better. Like, it's interesting. This one that I'm playing with, these are, the boosters are pretty long, actually. Because if I look, they're not out far enough from the back end. Like what I mean by that is this should be sitting, let's grab this one. This should be sitting way more out like this, way out there. Way out there. Okay. Okay. Like we could go with this. This is, again, it's not like we're not, it's not like we're not looking like the X-Wing. We are. And then that's where this then actually lives more here, is where that lives. And like, so I would say based upon the model that I have, this is where that stuff sits more than anything. And again, we need to now go adjust this one. So I'm deviating from the image in essence. Right, and I'm kind of now going more off the model than the image itself per se. And then now I have this. Because this is important, because all the Greeble that I'm going to put on this, I need to make sure I have that room. So this is the kind of stuff I like to really figure out and do before I go too crazy. And you know what? I'm going to go, I want this, even now that I've done this, what I don't like, which we will fix real quick. Let's see what we got here. All right, so let's insert an edge loop right around there maybe. And then here, let's see what a quarter looks like. Okay, a quarter and a quarter. Ah man, it's coming to save us. And then the Q-mesh polygroup all, and then now I do this. I just made it wider, right? That I think looks way better. Just a bigger overall piece, I think, was needed there. Okay. Okay, good. And then I want this now to, oops, I want this just to be a little bit bigger. Just wanted to have a little bit more of a ridge there. All right. I think I'm going to go with that. I think I'm going to deviate from the image a little bit here and go this route with it. Just make those bigger cannons in the back, bigger thrusters, for sure. Go a little bit more like that. All right, let's see. Wait, catching up. Okay, let's see. The question that came through. Okay, so D. Okay, you got the problem with the gizmo. Okay, we got that. Right. Also, I have a question about Lightbox. Okay, well let's see. What does the little preview? Wait, how does the little preview it has for file work? Can I show a snapshot of a ZTL that has multiple subtools? It's grabbing. So I guess you're referring to the thumbnails in here. Is that what you're referring to? Are these thumbnails? Like when you look in Lightbox, how are the thumbnails created and generated? Well, these are generated by when you save a project or a tool, it's storing the state of what's in the document space and turning that into the thumbnail. And it's doing whatever's visible in the document space. So the subtools, you can have them all turned on. You can have them one on. It's going to use visually what's there and grab that and make that the thumbnail for what you see inside of Lightbox itself. So as far as tools and projects, you can't make custom UI. Custom thumbnail. You can for brushes though. You can make custom icons for brushes. That is possible. Which then that's what will be seen in Lightbox and in the brush picker itself. Okay, so over here you would also see that in here. So that's how the custom iconing is in the brush palette. You click right here, select icon. It's automatically going to pick up the document. So in this case, I do this. See, it's going to pick up just that subtool that I have selected right now. And that is now the new, in essence, thumbnail for my Z Modeler brush. But this needs to be saved out, right? So this, if it doesn't get saved out, when I relaunch, it's going to go back to the default. So you can also hold the Alt key and click on this, and it'll open up your browser. And then now you can go select an image. Again, though, the icons for the brush pickers, they're grayscaled. So whatever image you select, if it does have color, it's going to end up being grayscaled, is what's going to happen. Does that make sense? Right? Making sure that's answered for you. Let's see. Yeah, I'm a lot closer now to what this is. Kind of intrigued to also using this as a measurement. Just like one of them, I would say. So let's see, if I go I just want to see, because I made a difference there, big difference there, right? So let's calibrate this as being 1. And then now I want to go from there. Oops. To there. Okay, we're good. The wings aren't too short. I wanted to make sure that because I made that proportional change, that doesn't make the wings too crazy short now. Right, so it looks like I'm good to go. Oh no. I lost a piece. A piece of my model fell off. 1 second. Piece of the model. It's falling apart. There we go. So I do have, honestly, stuff like this. Honestly, really the good way to do this is, let me grab something. Let's see if I have. I don't remember which one I put it in. 1 second. I went out here. It was in here. Oh, there it is. There it is. This, especially if you're going to get into 3D printing, I would recommend something like this. You don't have to do this as fancy as I did. I did a digital one. I don't think that's necessary. I just did a digital one. That's all. So you would want one of these calipers, like these measuring, a digital caliper like this. This is a caliper, right? And then this one, mine is digital. So the reason why I'm saying this is I can measure and move this, and I can get measurements from this, right? From point to point. But this also has this side too. So and the reason why I'm saying that is since I'm using this physical thing, I need to do just like we do in organic, kind of figure out, okay, if this is, okay, in this case, on this particular model, that back booster is 1.31 inches. So then I'd want to make sure, well, what is it on the wing, from wing to the end, going, I'd say, 1.45. Right, so it's just, the wing's just a little bit longer than the length of that boosters, right? So this, for me, is going to become in handy because of what I'm actually building. The way I'm building, I'm using a physical model. So it's just, this is like old school sculpting, right? Where with clay, that's why we had the calipers with models. So then I would want to say, okay, I already did this as my main measurement. So I would say the length of this needs to be longer than this. Right, for sure, 100%. Okay, from that measurement that I took from there. Okay, so again, I'm going from here to, let's say, there. That's one. See, that's 1 unit. And now I want to go from here to there. There. Actually, I want not the whole wing. Well, actually, I could measure that, right? So it's there, 1.6-ish. Okay, so you can do stuff like this and see, making sure, and especially for something like that, I'm doing this. There's no like rule like we have for organic with humans. So I got to find some rules, find some things I can measure off with. I would say probably gone a little, personally, a little too long here in the tooth and a little too wide. Honestly, I think I could probably dial it back a little bit. But I'm going to now use secondary imagery, I mean, in essence, secondary things to see if that is the case. Did I kind of go too far with this? So I'm going to do a quick test here to see how I am doing as far as where I'm at with this. So I'm going to just duplicate this for now. And let's solo this out. And then I'm going to now apply the dynamics. And let's divide it up, divide it up, divide it up. Let's just, okay, 13 million is a lot. In fact, we don't need 13 million for this. Okay, so I'm going to say brush. I'm going to use this chisel brush. I am now going to make a morph target here. All right, and then now when I do this, I have this, but I am going to do the opposite and do a Z add. So I want this kind of thing to happen, right? Okay. And then there's just different variations of this, right? There's different ones that we have here. Okay, so I'm going to go with just the rounded one, like that. And then I'm going to say I don't need it to have all the intensity, so let's just look around halfway. Okay, I go a little bit more. Let's go 75%. 75%. Okay, that's good to me. Okay, so the reason why I stored a morph target is I'm going to do stuff like this. Okay, and then I'm going to cross over like that. And I want that all to be the same depth. Now, this is a great example of, let's go back to before I put on subdivision levels on this and looked at it. If you remember, right, we've got this huge face here, these huge faces here. I actually don't want that. I kind of want more evenly distributed faces because I know I'm going to sculpt right here. Obviously, I could use things like Sculptures Pro, but I'm going to go more in the era of caution of going, hey, you know what, I want to keep this all nice and clean. So I'm going to insert multiple edge loops. I'm going to say keep the polygroups, in essence, don't change that polygroup right now. And I'm just going to add until I get something more like that that's squared in both areas like this, right? And then now when I divide, let's get up to that 4 million. There, we're at 4 million mark. Again, now if I store a morph target, and then now this brush, let's see what, oh, I'm sorry, the wrong brush. I want this brush. Right, so now I can sculpt. So it looks nice there, and it looks nice there. Okay, so now if I do this, and then do that, I get a nice same consistent stroke happening there, all right? So the next thing I want to do is the one thing that's going to be causing a problem for me is this, that I can actually variation in the size by my pressure sensitivity. So I'm actually for right now going to turn that off on the brush. So let's get rid of the alpha, put the brush over there, and then what I'm going to do is in the tablet pressure here, you can see this brush in particular has size to allow variation depending upon the pressure. I actually want to turn that off, and I want to turn this into a mouse in essence. So no matter how hard I press or how soft, so now I'm pressing really soft, very barely touching the Cintiq. Now I'm pushing really hard. It's the same exact stroke. I'm not going to have a variation there. So this is kind of what I would want, because now what I want to do is start making some of this on there. And I would say my brush size is also way too big. I would say probably want to live more, more in that realm is where I want to live. And now I start, so the reason why I'm bringing this up is there needs to be some consistency happening here, right? And then I can, oh no, I dropped them. Something else broke off. Oh, I dropped my model, and let's see, something snapped off. Okay, that's on. What else did I lose here? No idea where that was. And no idea where this. Oh, there, I do. I do know where this is. There we go. Okay. Okay. This I don't know. All right, good enough. Okay. So, again, I'm going to look at this as my reference. I can work. Now, again, we are using array mesh, but I can still throw on, in essence, my symmetry. Okay, so you can have symmetry ability here. So I can say, what symmetry do I want? I just want local symmetry like this. So that way what I'm trying to do is in this particular design, we're just going to do, I'm going to say that looks pretty symmetrical. Let's just say we're going to do, I probably wouldn't use this brush for that. I'm going to make a straight line. Okay, like here, let's go here. Make a straight line there. And now I have it on both sides. I say I need to go actually deeper. I need to go deeper, deeper, deeper. Something more like, see that? Yeah, this is the fun part now. I would say maybe a little too deep. As I come forward, I'm going to come forward just a bit. I kind of live more in that world. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, and then now sculpturally, see how many do I have here? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's 4. And then it slowly changes. So we do 1 across. Okay. So then I need to now go this direction. So I'm going to go from here to there. All right, that looks relatively good. And then now I need to go do that again. But I'm going to go do this into this into this. Something like that. Let's see. Okay, it needs to be longer. So the first one needs to be a lot longer. So I'm actually going to go from this direction. We'll go from here still. So I probably need to go more there to there to there. Then I need another one. Oops. Sorry, this fell on me. Then I need, again, another one. I want to go there to there to there, and then one more. There to there to there. Okay, so this kind of a pattern, right? And I'm going to get it everywhere, right? It's happening on all of them. And then let's see, now it has, I would say, bigger gap. It goes almost all the way. Okay, so I would say a gap that looks like, okay, I'd say probably more around, I'm going to turn off symmetry now, because I don't need it. I'd say more here. And it goes to there, then a little angle, and then up, and I would say I go about that, whoops, I go about that far. Space bar to, oops, let's redo this. So I'm going to say right about there, to there, and then to there. And then I need another one. over here that goes, oops, how close is that to that? I'm going to say right about there. Goes higher up, something more like that. Then I want to go on an angle. So how close I am to the top. That's pretty close to the top. So I'm going to go here on a 45 and then back down like this. And then now it needs another. So I think I've gone a little too long with it, right? Because so this is the kind of stuff. This is kind of secondary look into things. And I would say I did go, I think, a little bit overboard on the height. I think I'm going a little. I think I need to pull back that height. It's a little too much. A little too much there on top. A little too much there. Okay, and then this down here, we can turn symmetry back on. It has something more like that, and then this is why I've turned on things like the morph target, is I can get nice clean, and if at any time too I want an eraser, I can switch to the morph brush, and then I can start, you know, erasing things, like, see? So it comes in really handy. So the morphing allows me to kind of start having this layering elements to it, and then going that route. So I would say, yeah, I got a little too happy with the doing the distance thing for sure. So yeah, so it needs to come down a lot more. Okay. Okay, definitely needs to, okay, so this is why I kind of did the duplication, because now I can also use this as kind of a measuring stick for the one that I'm going to use. Right, so now this, let's go in here, recenter this. This needs to come more, I would say, more in there. I say more there. And then this needs to come down now. Again, once again. I say there. That's more like it. And then I would also say this also now needs a little bit of adjustment as well. I think it's a little too, I'm gonna go more like that. There. Okay, I prefer that. That's looking better for me. So let's duplicate this. This is kind of that measuring guide, and now we've got that. Right, so now I can go add those details for sure. Hold on. I haven't looked at the questions in a second. Let's take a look at the question. Okay, answer the lightbox question. About Genie 3. For real, I'm not familiar with Genie 3. What's Genie 3? I don't know what that is. Is this an AI thing? Yeah, that's very possible that the Z tools only take the active subtool. Yeah, which it does. Because it's just taking whatever the selected subtool is. Projects take the entire document space. So yes, you are correct. Jeff D. Chef. Okay, I have a question with a little unrelated, but I've been fighting with figuring out for a little while. Is it possible in ZBrush for iPad to create custom hotkeys for things like brushes? No. Nope. We did not yet bring over the ability for you guys to create custom hotkeys. Because that UI is different, we got to come up with the workflow you guys are going to do. Obviously, on the desktop, you use Control and Alt and Tap. It is something that you could probably do on the iPad, but then you also have, there's a lot of navigations, the buttons are smaller, so there could be complications in there, and there's other things too that obviously exist on the desktop side that don't exist on the iPad side. I don't think it would cause a problem most likely, but we got to go through the paces and go through the scenarios of that. Because like, what if you bought a plugin and you're using shortcuts in that plugin? That plugin doesn't exist on the iPad side, as an example. No plugins exist on the iPad side, except for the ones that we've added, like Decimation Master we've added in there, right? So there's just a lot of scenarioing that we have to just run through. Because obviously, if I'm doing hotkeys on iPad, I want those exact same hotkeys on desktop or vice versa. I just want to take the hotkeys for the desktop. So that's the biggest thing. We got to make sure we can make those live together. And even though the UIs are actually different, very different, right? They're not the same UI either. So right now, we got to think about things for that. So right now, it's not possible to create your own custom hotkeys. You only can use the default hotkeys on the iPad. You use a one-handed Huan keyboard with it on the iPad, and the standard hotkeys work, but it would be awesome. Yes, it would be good to allow your own custom hotkeys for sure. Oh, thank you for your kind words. I'm glad you're thinking this is looking good. I think it's looking all right. It's not too bad. It's not too shabs. It's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. Okay, so I'm looking to see what I'm going to start making from this. So this is where sometimes, again, I will still make a copy of this. So I have a low version of this, and then I'll rename this back engine component, and then I'll put it low in this scenario. Because I want to build stuff off the low version of this, but I want a combination of sculpting and a combination of building off the low. Because now, what I was just doing there as a test, let's actually do it on the one that I like now. So we're going to need, again, look at the topology first before we do anything. I'm going to need to ramp up this topology in here so I can get a consistent stroke. So same thing, inserting multiple edge loops. And then I want to get to kind of more of a square. And more of a square. That's good enough. Doesn't really matter that it's creased. Okay, that looks good. Then I apply. Right, so now I've got 275. Let's go up another one. So I'm around 4.4 million now, which is fine. So, but you got to multiply this by 4, right? Because there's going to be eventually 4 of them in this one subtool. So we're going to be around 17 million. Yeah, what am I at for? Yeah, it'll be a little more, so we'll be around 18 million. That's fine. Good to go. Can have that. No problem. All right. So once again, switching to the chisel brush, I'm using this one, right, to do this. Okay. I don't know why my Cintiq is having a problem today. Okay, there we go. I don't need that big of a brush size. I'm definitely going to do... Okay, I don't know what's going on with my Cintiq, but something weird is going on. Store a morph target. And then I don't need the big... everything is being wonky all of a sudden for me. I might have to restart. Like, it's not seeing the pen right. Seeing the mouse fine. So I'm going to go... I think I'll go a little bit bigger. Let's go draw size 6. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I'm going to go draw size 6. That's what I'm going to go with. Okay, so let's turn symmetry on right now. And again, I want to go from this side. I'm going to be right about here, right? So I'm going to go from there to there. Yeah, that looks good. And then now let's start with the first one. Needs to go from there to there. In fact, let's turn symmetry off right now. I don't need symmetry. Okay, and then now I gotta start again that repeating pattern here. Right, so I would probably... Yeah, I don't know what is going on here. It's not... Okay, hold on. There's something going on with my Cintiq. 1 second. Well, okay. Well, that explains certain things right there. No. Looks like I have a dead Cintiq. That stinks. So, I don't. Well, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go soon, anyways. But let's turn symmetry on. I'm gonna go from here. I want to go closer. There, straight up, straight across. Then let's make another one. Let's go there. Oops, I didn't do that one right. Let's go right about that. Oops. This is the shift key, so I'm holding shift key, letting go of shift key, holding shift key again, letting go of shift key, holding shift key again, and then letting go of shift key. That's, in essence, what I'm doing. Okay, so actually what I'm going to do is use this as my... And then this one's going to start right about there. Something like that. Then it had a larger gap here. Then I need a line that goes from, where is that one sitting in conjunction with? Okay, it's a little bit past. So it's a little bit more in this round. So I'm going to go about there. And then this one is going to live right about there. And then now I have another one that needs to go in. Oh, wait a minute, here we go. I didn't need to do that. I got ahead of myself here. I'm doing stuff, breaking the rules. Breaking the rule. So it's more like that. And then that. And then we need this to this. And then I need another one. There we go. That's looking good. That's looking right. I like it. I like it. I like that. I like that. I like it that. Okay, so then I'm gonna go. Let's switch to the standard brush. Let's do a drag rack. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, yeah. Let's knock down the focal shift. Yeah. Okay, even more. Okay, that looks good. And now we need more intensity. Let's try 75. Okay. I don't like that. Too big. Actually, let's, instead of the standard brush, let's use the layer brush. And then that way, it'll play nicely like that when I draw out the square. I think that's too big. That works for me. And then there we go. Something like that. Okay. Let's let's save this out actually. Let's put this here. X-wing. Okay, there. Saving that one on my hard drive. Okay, you can use. Okay. Could those details be done with the Curve 2 brush, or is it too messy? Cosmic Legend, it can definitely be done with the Curve 2 brush, but why I don't like that is like even right now. God, that's right. This stupid thing's not working now. Even right now, if I want to go now and say, hey, you know what? I don't like this one. Again, because I stored a morph target, I can erase this. Which I'm not going to be able with the Curve 2 brush, and then trying to control it, I can get better control this way with just the sculpting brush. Okay? Like it's just going to be easier to go through this, right? Okay? But what we can also do with this, since it's got a morph, I could also go all the way back to this, make this a marker, right? And bring everything back where it was. And now I can go like huge morph target and say, look, it would only affect that stroke. Like this is the kind of workflow that I'm opening up to myself. Okay. And so if I went back to this, my draw size was sitting at 6 for this. And I can say, okay, I want to go a little bit bigger of a gap actually. Let's turn symmetry back on. And then I can, in essence, redraw this now. Like, and then it's non-destructive. It's very non-destructive for me. And I like to live in that as much as I can, having non-destructive where I can. The curves is and technically non-destructive too, if we think about it. But now I can also switch back to the morph. And then now I can even morph this stuff out. See, like this? You can use it as an eraser in essence. So I can get more precise, right? With this, just get the right angle. And then this, I would probably you can start doing stuff like that. So I am going to go with let's redraw this one more time now. So having that morph ability now using the undo history is huge. Huge, a big one. So that's a newer feature that I'm playing with right now. And I want my focal shift at 0. Alright. Oops, it's at 11. I want 6. I still don't like where that one's sitting. Trial and error. Trial and error. I like that one better. Okay. There you have it. There you have it. And I'll do a save next. Hey Baymax, how are you? Doing all right. I'm hanging in there. Been busy. What does a layer brush do? Never seen it be used by anyone. Why is it better than the standard one? Okay, so the layer brush has a built-in ability. So number one is when we go to just the layer brush. Let's just go back to only the layer brush. Let's put this on freehand. Let's put this on 0. Okay, so what's really nice about the layer brush is when I do this, right? And I do this, right? You'll see it's not building up, right? It's building, and then if I do this, right? This height, these heights are all pretty much relatively the same. Okay? So I can't like build upon. So even if I keep clicking, clicking, and clicking, and clicking, and clicking, and clicking, it's not really adding right on top of the surface. So it's only allowing you to go such layer deep, and that what's controlling that is that Z intensity. So if I have this at a lower, which by default it's 20, and if I do this, you can see it's kind of trying to keep at that same layered level. So even though I can keep clicking and dragging here, it's not going to change much there. So this is one of the big difference between the layer brush and then just using your typical standard brush, where that's going to work different, right? So when I go to make a brush stroke, and let's put the focal shift back at 0. So when I make a brush stroke, I can actually keep building upon that, building upon that, building up. You can't do this with the layer brush. It doesn't allow that. It's all about just a layer, a layer, a layer. And then you can't build upon on top of, 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 on top of. And then what we've done over the years is we've done some tricks and some things with this. So as an example, a morph target, the layer brush is looking at that morph target differently. So when I do this, it's actually seeing this morph target. So when I draw across, it is trying to keep those layers, see, at the same kind of distance. If I didn't have this, then you could still do this and still do this, and see it kind of just building little strips of layers now, and you're now just getting over top of it like this, okay? So the chisel brushes are built upon the layer brush. So when you scroll over this, you can see this base type is single layer. So I know this, so when I know if I store a morph target and I start doing this, I know if I cross over, it's nice. If I didn't have a morph target, this is what you would get. Like it's kind of like it's going over a hill, a speed bump, right? It's doing this, where it's not going to do that here. So that's also adding a layer, but paying attention to your morph target, right? That's kind of the biggest difference between it. So for hard surface, I find myself doing that, you know, for stuff like this, right? So if we throw this on, now I'm starting to get those gritty details that I want to start getting into this. That's what I'm doing. Okay, does that help answer your question for you? Are there any other last minute questions? Because unfortunately I got to get going. Unfortunately for the streaming. So I take any last minute tangent cape questions that we have here. You know, I'm all about the users. The users. All right. So I'd be happy to answer any other question before I have to take off. I got to get into a meeting. And because there's a delay, I'll give it a second to see if there's any questions that are popping up for us. And then I'll turn on the unit here. Anything? Okay. So it looks like that's it. You know, I didn't get really as far as I wanted to. I was doing a lot of more just playing around, talking to you guys. So one of these days, one of these years, I'll get this done. I just got to sit down and just do it and just crank through it all. This is all I got to do, is to start making it happen, right? So if you wanted to sculpt a Gundam mech, is there a class I could take to learn? Wink, wink, nice. Yes. However, my videos are all gone, so I have to redo the class. But although I teach that class at Noman, but you have to be physically here in LA, because you got to be physically at the school to take that class. Okay, useful stuff you'll be using for a helicopter sculpt. That's great. I'd love to see that. Put it up on ZBrush Central for me, and then tag me in it, like do an @ So like on ZBrush Central, you can @ and then I am Pixo Paul. That's my ZBrush Central username. So that helicopter, I'd love to see it. Post it on ZBrush Central and then put my @ put me on there. I'd love to take a look. All right, well, thank you everyone for your time. I really appreciate you just taking out of your day to sit here and chill and listen to me ramble off ZBrush stuff and then sit there trying to make this X-Wing. Really appreciate that you guys would be wanting to do that and sit with me. That's awesome. I don't know if I'll be streaming at all any this month. I got really a crazy schedule, so I don't think I'm going to be available on any of the Fridays this month. Pretty sure this is the only stream I'm going to be able to do this month. But I appreciate you taking time and coming to see me and being here. So again, happy ZBrushing. Keep going. Share your work. Help out the community. Help out each other. Really appreciate it. This has been Paul Gaboury from Mac